to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Hey, Spadoni, shut up!
Move on, Joe!
Can you feel it? Can you feel it in the air? I'm not going Phil Collins, although it is a Phil Collins Friday. It's a payday Friday. It's going to be a wet and rainy Friday here in the Bay. So please, I don't think it's started yet, but drive safe today. Be safe. I'm excited. Got a great show for you today. First and foremost, we're going to listen to the sultry tones of one Bob Myers, former president of basketball operations for the Golden State Warriors. He had a tremendous interview yesterday with Steiny and Guru, courtesy of the River Islands guest line, and he was on the call for the Warriors win over the Oklahoma City Thunder on ESPN. But Bob Myers, he's one of one. He's so good. He really could be a politician. I would vote for that guy. Yeah, he's personable. He gets it. And why I say he's a politician, because he's very good at tiptoeing the line of giving out information and not giving out anything. He walks that fine line, and now that he's a part of the media, he can speak freely on certain things, and he's not going to divulge certain information, obviously, that, is going to get anyone in trouble. But a week away from the NBA trade deadline, I wanted to hear from a guy that's been in the deep of it. And we're going to hear from him shortly, but 888-957-9570. Good morning to all of you. Just getting off work and ready for work and ready for school. Again, the number, 888-957-9570. That's the number to call or text. Hit me up there. And if you want to look at me and look at this beautiful face, you just want to listen to it, you want to see this beautiful face, you can stream us on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, all powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Just search 95.7 The Game on any of those platforms. Like and subscribe. Also, another way is downloading the Odyssey app and take us wherever you need to go. Whether you listen to the pregame show, the morning roast, Steiny Goo, Willard Dibs, all of it right there, the palm of your hands. 95.7 The Game and thousands of other stations. And you can listen to Warriors games there as well, as we are the home of the Golden State Warriors right here at 95.7 The Game. Warriors, by the way, they're getting in action tonight against the Phoenix Suns. Kevin Durant, come on down. KD, back in the Bay. And can the Warriors start to build something here? Can they get something going? Well, we're going to find out. It's cute to win a game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. You almost gave it away. You got down early. You survived Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's 50-burger. Awesome. Yeah, you beat the Jazz. They stink. Beat the Suns. And you got a 3-game winning streak, which for the Golden State Warriors is a rarity. For this Golden State Warriors team, I should say. Then, Monday, got the Magic, got the Jazz, Lakers, Bulls, Bucks, Mavericks, Rockets. Then you got a break. So, crucial stretch here coming up for the Warriors, again, ahead of the NBA trade deadline. But without further ado, former president of basketball operations for the Golden State Warriors, current analyst for the NBA on ESPN, Bob Myers, joining Steiny and Guru yesterday right here on 95.7 The Game.
Of basketball operations of the Golden State Warriors, and obviously he's just put together one of the best football teams in the NFL, the Washington Commanders, who had an unbelievable run. He's scheduled to go to the Florida Panthers and work with them next, and then another MLB team probably. What's up, Bob? How you doing?
Boy, what's up, guys? How's it going?
He's already started early, Bob. How you doing, man?
Oh man,
hey,
I'm doing good.
Let me start here, and it's a week before the deadline, and it was about 2 weeks ago. There was a story in The Athletic, and it just mentioned that Joe Lacob and Mike Dunleavy were talking animatedly outside the Bridge Club after one of the losses, and my first thought was, Can you take us through like what the week is like before the trading deadline? And I think about you guys with, you know, you had you and Joe and Kirk, and you got to keep Steve in the loop, and you got, you know, Larry Harris and other guys who were there. Like, how busy is it? How much communication are you in? And how frenzied is it?
It's pretty rough. I mean, it's much more than maybe the public realizes. You know, this isn't like you woke up 2 days before the deadline and decided to make a trade. I can tell you about the Wiggins one we did. It's pretty exhausting from a standpoint of just running out a ton of ground balls. I mean, most of the stuff you discuss in detail, you don't end up doing, or you'll move forward, you'll get to the 10-yard line with another team and they'll just pull out and say they got a better deal somewhere else, or they'll change the deal, or something will happen. A guy will sprain his ankle, the deal's off. Somebody's medicals will come back negatively. But every time you go through it, you learn something, and you learn about your peers. You learn who you can trust. You learn about your own group. Some people in the group are more aggressive, some more conservative. Ultimately, it's Joe's team. It's his call. And I accepted that, and that's what every organization operates under, is it's the owner's team. And more so than ever, owner's engagement, the prices of these teams, the values of these teams. If you guys bought a team, I'm sure you would have your say, as you should. So you're balancing all these things. The coach certainly has a way of expressing themselves. I was lucky with Steve. We had a good partnership. I knew kind of where he stood. But the truth is, there's a media component to it. There's a part about what are the fans going to think? What would the business ops think? That all matters, because you know it more so than ever. The power of how a deal is received is probably never been greater. Like to believe you put your head down and do what you think is best, but more organizations now, whether it's social media or the reaction, is discussed. It's actually discussed. Every year I saw that grow. But guys, it's not perfect. I mean, you just do the best you can. You try to placate all the powers in your organization. Clearly, for me, you'd loop in staff, you'd loop in the key stakeholders, and then you do what you do. And sometimes it's nothing. But when I remember we were doing a Iguodala's deal, and that was a free agent deal. It wasn't a trade deal. And I remember going through it and thinking to myself, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to get him, and no one cares. So to come on the radio the next day, for me to see you guys at the bar, I know you guys, I might say, guys, we had a lot of stuff going. And at the very end, I mean, couldn't get there. You might have some empathy, but the general public doesn't care.
Right.
They just say you didn't get a deal done. So you suck. And why didn't you do it? So there's part of it. But, you know, you get paid a lot of money, and that's part of the deal. That's part of the job.
Bob, always good to talk to you. I got a million questions, my friend. I'll start with this one. So when the Warriors, you know, decide, you know what, we need to make a move, we need some enhancements. If the team were to get hot in the current play, you know, the Warriors have won 2 in a row. If does that change matters up top? Like, you know, do you guys take that into account? Or once you decide we need to make a move, if the team were to get hot, does that change anything in regard to the thought process?
It does. It probably changes it more than it should. Just like you probably woke up today, you more than Steiny, I'm sure. You know, your reaction.
Win of the year, Bob.
And Guru, I like that about you, by the way. I do. You know, you need a guy like that in the group. But yeah, I mean, probably we all got that recency bias in us. We're human beings. You know, however, if you and I played basketball and you had a great day, you'd think you're great. And the day you suck, you think you suck. I mean, that's just who we are. You have to temper that, though. You have to look at the body of work and say, how real is this? Is this just a variance? Did we just make more threes and they missed more? Or what was this run? What did happen? Was the team we're playing healthy? Were they not? Are we healthy? Are we not? When we lost 3 in a row, what was going on there? And the good news is the trade deadline, you're 45, 50 games in sometimes. That's a big body of work. And so you have to look at all of it. And then you have to look at, what are we trying to gain by this? So we made this deal. What do we hope happens here? Right? So we traded for this player. What should be our proper expectation? Because it can't just be we did something. That satiates some people for a week or two. But if it doesn't get the results you want, so let's say you're making a big deal and you're trading a first-round pick. Within the group, you got to say, what do we think this is going to do for us? We think this trade gets us from a play-in team to a team in the top 6. Or we think this trade gets us from the first round to the second round, or second round to the Western Conference Finals. The issue, though, what you're saying is you have to stop. You say you win 4 in a row before the deadline or win 3 in a row. You have to kind of push back on that and go, okay, that was just 3 games out of 48. Let's just pause a little bit. But it's hard to do that sometimes.
Yeah, and we're talking to Bob Myers, former president of basketball operations for the Golden State Warriors. Is it even a little trickier for the Warriors because they started 12-3, then they were, I don't know, 10-18 or 10-19, and I get it. It is only one game, but you see a game like last night, and to me, I thought to myself, well, I guess that's how they started 12-3 with those kind of games last night. So, I'm just kind of wondering how you balance that, and when you see a game like last night, does it reduce the urgency a little bit?
Yeah, it's hard because which team is it? Is it the team that lost to Toronto in the road, or is it that? And the truth is, it's both. I wouldn't weight one any more than the other. Both things happened. So you have to find an answer for that. And the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? You're not that every night, but you're also not what happened in Toronto, or I'm taking any bad loss or any great win. If you were that, you'd have won 12 games if you were the team that lost the teams you think you're better than. If you were what you were last night, you'd have 28, 29 wins maybe. And I'm not saying they can't be that. I think they're closer to that than a team that's in the bottom. But it's consistency, getting healthy for sure. They got a big road stretch coming up. But, it's very personal. I mean, nobody has – you, myself, and Guru could argue all day and night about how good is this team, right? And those would be subjective opinions. And you've both been around a long time. And I'm not saying I'd be more right than you, but then we'd have to look at the analytics and say, okay, based on how we've performed all in for the last however many games, who are we really? What should we expect? We've been very unlucky. We should have 5 more wins. If the numbers tell you that, that's important. But when you get into this emotional, we just won 3 in a row or we lost 3 in a row,
right,
that's where you kind of get in trouble. But that's what the group's for. But it's a fascinating time of year. The fan engagement is huge this time of year for agency. As a GM, it's one of the few times you can actually do something. But as far as big deals, Matt, I mean, you tell me, and you guys, either of you, what team, and this has nothing to do with the Warriors, in the history of the NBA, what team made a deal at the deadline that just changed everything for the rest of that season? Even when the Mavericks did Kyrie, who I think is a really good player, and they went to the Western Conference Finals the year after they traded for him. When they traded for him, it didn't work for those 30 games because basketball involves 5 guys and systems. I mean, even Schroeder, who he's finally, I think, getting it a little bit after how many games? 20-something?
Yeah.
So that's the question you ask. Like, when you do a deal, what do you expect to happen this season? It's hard.
Bob, I'm the president of because I'm very inquisitive when it comes to Andrew Wiggins, because I know the skill set he possesses, and we saw it in 2022, and he's having a great January. But last night, he put his imprint on the game, and Bob, and you lived it. It's never been about talent, but how do the Warriors continue to get this Andrew Wiggins? Like, how do you deal with that in regard to a player? Is it confidence? Do you have conversations, or he's just on an island by himself and he's got to kind of figure it out? But he's balling right now, and I want it to continue.
Yeah, man, it's all of that, right? I mean, is 50% confidence? Is 40%? How the situation Steve puts him in? Is it how his body's feeling? I mean, it's just like I love you. This is going to upset Steinmetz. It's just like when you go play your games. Why are you playing well? Why are you having a good week? Well, things are pretty good at home. I'm healthy. I was sick last week. I got a good team. My jumper's falling. I'm in a good moment in time. The best players are always there. And even when they're not there, they find a way to get there. So that's the question with Wiggins is like, okay, we all have ups and downs, but how do you raise that floor? And he's capable, right? He's certainly capable. And that's why you asked the question. With Wiggins, it's like, can we get this all the time? Why aren't we getting it all the time? But when you have it now, and he's had it for the last 5, 6, 7 games, how do you sustain it? And I can't. You could put a lot of players in that situation. Like, how do they maintain it for 30, 40, 50 games? He did it in 22, so we know he can. And the hope is for this team to go where they want to go. He's going to have to do that.
Bob Myers joining us on 95.7 The Game, former president of basketball operations for the Warriors. I mean, this is probably more of a coaching question for Steve Kerr, but it just happens all the time. It feels like if let's just assume, the Warriors are going pretty well. Let's say they play well in Phoenix or, they're playing pretty well. But now and I say but, maybe I shouldn't, but Draymond's coming back and Kuminga's coming back. Like, how does Steve even start to navigate, who do their minutes get taken from? And, if they're rusty coming back, then they're playing in front of a guy who's been contributing while they're gone. I mean, that would seem to be a pretty tricky challenge.
It is. I was watching last night, Oklahoma City, even though they haven't had Chet Holmgren, and I was thinking, obviously you want him back. You want Kuminga and Draymond back, but there is an adjustment period that when a player that's going to play 30 minutes comes back that hasn't played in a month, 6 weeks like Kuminga, a few weeks like Draymond, or a week or 10 days, whatever it'll be. Yeah, I mean, what happens? Because this team has had 28 different starting lineups. You don't want that. Kerr doesn't want that. Right. The players don't want that. Sure, the fans don't want that. So what happens then? Because maybe what we saw last night is the start of something. Well, then you're going to add guys to it that are better than the players that played last night on a talent level. How do you incorporate those guys? And that's part of coaching. Here's the point, though, Matt. How many times do you do that through the course of a season, right? That's where it gets tricky, because this team has already had to make quite a few changes, and this will just be another adjustment and another adjustment.
Right.
And the best teams want to limit those. You're not going to bench your best players and say, we're on a run, you're not playing. You're not doing that. So these guys are going to come back and play. But it's just another thing that you have to figure out during the course of an 82-game season. And as many of those as you can avoid, and consistency, and you had 3 starting lineups the whole year, that's the mark of what you'd like to have. But unfortunately, it just hasn't gone that way this year.
Bob, you're my guy. I promise you I'm not spying on you, but I saw you talking to Lacob and you made him laugh. I know you can't tell us what you guys talked about, but can you share with us what you said to make Mr. Lacob laugh?
You can tell he doesn't hide his body language where he sits. And it wasn't the best start for the Warriors. And I just said, it's a long game and it's going to be better. And he just wants it so badly. And I don't even remember. It wasn't anything that interesting. I just said, hey, I think I might have said you got the deadline coming up if you need to, something like that. But I think he was pretty happy by the end of the game, certainly. So he was, good win, by the way. I mean, I don't know if you guys, it sounds like you were there or you watched it, but that was a big, the energy at the start of the game for the Warriors wasn't there. Curry had a slow start. Oklahoma City was kind of imposing their will, and then it just shifted. And Wiggins was a big part of that. Podziemski's playing a lot better. Crowd got into it. That was, look, I don't watch all the games, but that had to be a top 5 win.
Oh, yeah.
I would believe for the season, maybe top 3.
Yeah, I think it's probably their biggest, considering kind of how they've been struggling.
Yeah. But look, I'm doing the game tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, you got to, this has been the issue, right?
Yeah.
You got to come out and do it again. I didn't need that little, I don't need it.
That's Evan, Bob. That's your boy, Evan.
That's Evan.
Evan asked me to come on the show, and he's going to pull that type of stuff on me. Can you guys control your producer over there?
Feeling pretty good about himself these days, I guess. Huh? Interesting. They got to back it up. Hey, before we let you go, Bob, just give me, I know you still talk to a lot of people. We got a week till the deadline is here. We've heard Levine, Vucevic, Butler, a lot of names. How busy do you think it'll get? Do you think we're going to see, a lot, a little, or somewhere in between in terms of deals?
Oh, man. You think just in general, the whole league?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think more than you think. I didn't think that a week ago, but now you got names dropping like Fox all of a sudden out of nowhere. Levine's been batted around. Obviously, Butler's an everyday ongoing thing. This is
actually, you know what? Let me jump in here for a sec, because I just, and I'm not asking you to speak to specifics, but you said the Fox thing came out of nowhere, and I'm looking at that too. It's like, okay, the Kings are struggling, and then Mike Brown gets fired. Yeah, they're playing real well, and then something comes out like that. I mean, the organization has already known the issue if there was one, right? Like, kind of why now? And you know what I mean? Like, where does something like that come from?
Well, it starts when he didn't sign his extension, which was the first indicator in the offseason. That would have been my first inkling of hey, why didn't you do that? Because I don't know the exact number, but you're turning down $100 million plus when you say no to that. And what human being does that in this day and age, or any day and age? So you say no to that, and you say, hang on, why aren't you signing that? Well, and they got a response. I'm sure Rich Paul and De'Aaron Fox gave a response.
Sure.
And it probably was something like, we don't know. And once you hear that, then what you're trying to do is convince them to bet on you. And I don't know the inner workings of the Kings. I don't know what happened. But for whatever transpired wasn't enough to convince him to stay. And maybe that was already there. Maybe that happened during the season. But it certainly was in the minds of Fox and Rich all before the season. So if I'm there and you're the GM, we're the assistant GM, we're like, hey, listen, we got to be prepared. Fox didn't sign this, so we got to know what's going on. So I just didn't know the timing, but maybe his agent's like, look, we didn't sign it, or he said, so just FYI, we're doing you a solid. You can do it now, or you can do it in the summer.
Right.
I'm guessing on that point, but that's what I would say.
Hey, Bob, last one from me, but I guess I could have sent you a personal text because the last time we conversated off air, you were nursing an injury to get back and we were going to ball. So I'll get an update on that. But you've been around the Commanders, and I got to tell you, this Jaden Daniels as a rookie is to me the real cool hand, Luke. Do you see, and this is random, do you see any Steph Curry in him, Bob?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll tell you by the way, he carries a basketball all over the place. He has a basketball next to him in the locker. He's the only guy, I think. And he puts it literally, when he gets dressed for the games, he's got a basketball sitting next to him. He's a huge Kobe Bryant disciple. Like he grew up in LA, loves Kobe, watches his old videos, tries to develop that mindset. Before the games, if you were watching him warm up on the field, he shoots a basketball.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I
have actually, yeah.
I have not.
You have, Simon?
I have.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I went up to him, I said, you got to keep your elbow in, man. I don't know what kind of shot that is. But he's I'll tell you why he reminds me of Steph. He's humble. I hooked up him and Curry when the Warriors were in D.C. for the Wizards game, and they met. So I put him on a thread with Steph and Jaden, and it was cool to see Jaden kind of, the way he responded to Curry was kind of like, I'm honored, or if you would have time. And it was really nice to see somebody, and Steph deserves that too, but a lot of young guys are like, hey man, I'll be here at this time. But the way he communicated with Curry was very like a respectful way.
Right.
And then the thing that is similar is they both are unbelievable competitors, but they laugh and they have fun doing it. So if you watch Jaden during a game, he's talking to the edge rusher. He's laughing. A guy will drill him and he'll get up and pat him on the helmet. And he's always talking to the other team and he's laughing. And I find it so rare. I always wished I was a guy. I think Magic Johnson was one of the first ones that I remember loving the game and just expressing that. Steph does that too.
Yeah.
That wasn't Michael Jordan. That wasn't Kobe Bryant necessarily, but that's what I see with Jaden and Steph, this very deep competitiveness, but they enjoy it. And obviously, the talent is the talent, so you got to have that too. But,
wow.
No, he's a good kid. Great kid.
Basketball, Steiny. I didn't know you knew that.
I know what Bob's talking about in terms of the pregame. Hey, Bob, thank you so much as always, man.
Yep.
I guess you'll be in town. You're in town now because you're doing tomorrow's game too. All right.
Yeah, man. Hey, can I say one thing to you guys?
Yeah.
Take your time.
You guys, I know you guys have been doing it for a while. What you guys have is really cool. You're yin and yang. I hope you know that. I know you mess with each other sometimes, but it's pretty amazing what you guys have done, and your personalities are perfect for each other, and you have a great show. So I hope you.
Bob,
I just want to tell you that from my benefit.
Hey, I'll say this.
Bob,
I said that was my last thing. This is a true story. I'm watching with Mia, the wife. She goes, that guy has a gray head of hair. How old is he? And she Googled you. I said, quit stalking her, but she gave you a compliment.
There you go.
Yeah.
Appreciate that, fellas.
All right, Bob.
All right, well, hey, thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Wow.
Bob Myers, former president of basketball.
Oh, the best. Bob Myers. And then Goo at the end. He just has to say that. You know, Bob, we were watching the game. My wife, she likes your head of hair. Only Goo. But that Jaden Daniels, Stephen Curry comp there is something to be said about players that play with joy. I think that's why a lot of people gravitated to the likes of a Magic Johnson, a Steph Curry, a Brett Favre in his heyday, just played with joy, right? And you see that with a guy like Jaden Daniels now, and nothing seems to faze him either. He's just so calm, cool, collected, a lot like Steph Curry. And, that was Bob's first conference championship loss, by the way. Never lost a conference title with the Golden State Warriors. His first one with the Washington Commanders? Well, I think he'll take it, all things considered. But Bob Myers there, just a tremendous interview. And also Steve Kerr stopped by with Mark Willard and Mark Grandy, Marky Marks, yesterday. So find that entire interview. Steve Kerr, Bob Myers. I mean, come on. We're just crushing it here. Crushing it. Got all the guys. Joe Lacob next? We'll see. Hey, Mike Dunleavy. Is he going to make any moves? We'll discuss that on the other side. Is this the time to make a move for the Golden State Warriors? According to Casey Johnson, covers the Chicago Bulls for a very long time. He says there have been talks between the Warriors and the Bulls. Not just about Zach LaVine, but Nikola Vucevic as well. We'll keep that monitored. Jimmy Butler. Is he still an option? Cam Johnson. The list goes on and on and on. We shall see. But one thing's for sure, the fan base is going to react one way or another. If they make a big move, if they don't make a big move, if they make a medium-sized move, fan base is going to want their pound of flesh too. And Bob Myers talked about that in that interview. Hey, it doesn't matter. Hey, fans don't care if I tried hard. They want results. And quite frankly, Joe Lacob does too. So let's get a result tonight if you're the Golden State Warriors. And that result needs to be a W against the Phoenix Suns. Coverage of that starts at 6 o'clock with Warriors Live right here on 95.7 The Game. The tip-off is going to be at 7 with the voice of the Golden State Warriors, Tim Roy, alongside Tom Tolbert. All right. We'll take a quick break. Come on back. One segment down, 2 more to go as the pregame show rolls on a Phil Collins Friday with Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid.
60 years. And The Panorama, a quarterly newsletter covering ongoing activities and historical presentations. Go to sfhistory.org and discover the San Francisco Historical Society, giving our history a great future. Become a member today.
Dub Nation, it's the voice of the Warriors, Tim Roy. You're listening to the Pregame Show with Joe Spadoni on 95.7 The Game.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Phil. And a happy belated birthday again to Phil Collins, turning 74 years young yesterday. It's a Phil Collins Friday here on the Pregame Show. Every single Friday, it's a Phil Collins Friday. It's a payday Friday as well. So we got the double. We got the payday Friday. It's also your opportunity again to qualify for the knockout tournament at Chase Center. 3 more times today. We've been doing it all week. We're going to do it all next week. 3 times to qualify today for a chance to shoot hoops at Chase Center with me, Shasky, with everyone else here at the station who's not working that day or that time shift. So, hey, be locked in to that starting with the morning roast. You're going to want to be listening to the morning roast. Steiny, Guru, Will, or Dibs. They're all going to be giving out words, keywords, all day long. Listen for that keyword. And then they're going to prompt you at some point in the show with a little buzzer, a sounder, what have you, a DJ horn. When that plays, they'll give out the text line or the contest line. You call that, boom, you're in. Shoot hoops at Chase Center, where Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant are going to be tonight. Again, starting at 6 o'clock. Our coverage here, tip off at 7. You're going to go to the game? Hit me up, 888-957-9570. How are you feeling about this team right now? Big emotional win. You've won 2 in a row. Can they start a little something here? You're the 11th seed in the Western Conference as currently constructed. No, but they're only 4 games out of the loss column of the Lakers and the Nuggets. Don't care about that. Care about the seeding. And right now, you got the Kings ahead of you, you got the Suns ahead of you, you got the Mavericks, T-Wolves, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Rockets, Thunder. And if we're going to play that game, the Spurs are only 1 back of the loss column from you, and they're the 12th spot. And the Spurs are trying to make a move with the Kings to bring in De'Aaron Fox. Is it going to happen? We'll see. That'd be fascinating. I'd love to see Wemby and Fox together. I wonder how Kings fans are feeling about that. You have this hot streak. Doug Christie, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden you're cooling down. 6-4 in your last 10, so it's just kind of You're 24-23. It's been an emotional season, to put it bluntly, if you're a Sacramento Kings fan. Mike Brown gone. Is De'Aaron Fox going to be gone? I would bet my money on that. Seems like it. And then where do you go from there? I know this isn't 95.7 The Game, the Kings channel, but I find it fascinating because they're one of the biggest storylines right now when it comes to free agency. The Warriors are obviously sniffing around. Not that they're going to be interested in De'Aaron Fox, and I don't think the Kings would be interested in doing business with the Golden State Warriors. But you had Tyrese Halliburton, and you traded him away, and you brought in Domantas Sabonis, who's been their best player this season. He's been great. But you're going to look up in a second and have no De'Aaron Fox, no Tyrese Halliburton. And Domantas Sabonis, Malik Monk, Keegan Murray, they got some players. But it felt like the Kings were ready to maybe take that next step a couple years ago, right? Awesome first-round series against the Dubs. Went down to Game 7. It took a 50-burger from Stephen Curry. Took an amazing performance. And we thought they were going to be back. And they go to the play-in game last year, and they hammer the Dubs. They get a little bit of revenge, but couldn't beat the Pelicans, and they don't make the playoffs. So you fast forward to now, and De'Aaron Fox wants out. He wants to go. You fired Mike Brown. You bring in Doug Chris. Like, all of a sudden, it's just turned into a big fat mess. And is a trade with the San Antonio Spurs going to fix it? We'll see. This is what Bob Myers had to say. If you missed last segment, Bob Myers joined Steiny and Guru yesterday, former president of basketball operations of the Golden State Warriors. Future Hall of Famer, I'm saying it now. He'll be a Hall of Famer. He'll be it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. He'll get in as an executive, Bob Myers. But he joined Steiny and Guru yesterday. We played the entire interview last segment. And if you've missed any of it, find it on YouTube or the Odyssey app. So Bob Myers had to say about the imperfect process of trying to make a trade at the deadline.
It's not perfect. I mean, you just do the best you can. You try to placate all the powers in your organization. Clearly for me, you'd loop in staff, you'd loop in the key stakeholders, and then you do what you do. And sometimes it's nothing. But when I remember we were doing a Iguodala's deal, and that was a free agent deal. It wasn't a trade deal. And I remember going through it and thinking to myself, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to get him, and no one cares. So to come on the radio the next day, for me to see you guys at the bar, I know you guys, I might say, guys, we had a lot of stuff going. And at the very end, I mean, couldn't get there. You might have some empathy, but the general public doesn't care.
Right.
They just say you didn't get a deal done. So you suck. And why didn't you do it? So there's part of it, but you get paid a lot of money, and that's part of the deal. That's part of the job.
And Bob also went on to talk about the De'Aaron Fox situation, what's going on there, and how the breadcrumbs for a player like Fox, it might have seemed like out of left field for a lot of us. Like, whoa, all of a sudden, like, it was Jimmy Butler, it was Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Cam Johnson's been rumored. And then, whoa, De'Aaron Fox just vaulting up there, all of a sudden wants to get traded? And the Spurs are his primary destination of where he wants to go? Well, Bob knows that it never just happens that easily, and that the breadcrumbs were laid a few months back.
Well, it starts when he didn't sign his extension, which was the first indicator in the offseason. That would have been my first inkling of hey, why didn't you do that? Because I don't know the exact number, but you're turning down $100 million plus when you'd say no to that. And what human being does that in this day and age, or any day and age? So you say no to that, and you say, hang on, why aren't you signing that? Well, and they got a response. I'm sure Rich Paul and De'Aaron Fox gave a response. And it probably was something like, we don't know. And once you hear that, then what you're trying to do is convince them to bet on you. I don't know the inner workings of the Kings. I don't know what happened. But for whatever transpired wasn't enough to convince him to stay.
And that's just a problem right now. Certain teams not convincing superstars to stay. Sacramento, smaller market. It's not, Los Angeles, it's not Miami. But that's what makes it so befuddling. If you're a Kings fan, it's like, man, you're leaving us for San Antonio. I get it. Wemby's there. It's fun. I want to say De'Aaron's from the area. Could be speaking out of turn here. Aaron Fox. Yeah. He grew up in Texas. So, okay. The family aspect. Then you sometimes you can't put a price on that. To Bob's point, where he said, like, I don't know who turns down hundreds of $1 million. Like, who does that? Like, well, if you're in the position that De'Aaron Fox is, relatively young still, 27, wants to get another big fat payday, and he's looking at San Antonio and the future there, and the future is Victor Wembanyama. Just look at him. Guy's incredible. By the way, did he make the All-Star? He's an All-Star, right? Yeah, thumbs up. By the way, the All-Star reserves were announced in the NBA, and I'll have that for you on the other side for the West and East. See if there's been any snubs. I don't think anyone on the Golden State Warriors other than Steph really deserved a spot. Wiggins has been solid this year. I wouldn't say he's been all-star worthy. Quentin Post? Rising star? No, Trace Jackson Davis and Pods, though. I believe they're in the Rising Stars category. So, De'Aaron Fox looking like he's going to be on his way out of Sacramento. And what does that mean for The Kings, what does that mean for standings? What does it mean for the Warriors? Kings and the Warriors, neck and neck right now, but the Kings obviously have won the season series against them. Maybe the Kings slide, Warriors take over. We shall see. We're up against it. 2 segments down, 1 more to go. We'll wrap this thing up, hand it off to Bonte and Chasky on the other side on the pregame show. Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Xfinity.
covering ongoing activities and historical presentations. Go to sfhistory.org and discover the San Francisco Historical Society, giving our history a great future. Become a member today.
Bay Area, it's Brandon Pajemski. You're listening to the Pregame Show with Joe Spadoni on 95.7 The Game.
We're back. 2 segments down, one more to go here before Bonta Hill and Joe Shasky take over. We've been talking NBA trade deadline. We've been talking Golden State Warriors. We're talking, Warriors Suns tonight. Kevin Durant's returning. How are we feeling about Kevin Durant these days, Warriors fans? Still the same? Are you appreciative of the time he was here? He's a legend. He's an all-time Warrior. 2-time Finals MVP. Hall of Famer, one of the greatest scorers in the history of the sport, one of the greatest basketball players in the history of the sport. Do we look at that whole situation, how it went down, a little bit differently now? Or did you think then, like, what the hell are we doing? It's not as simple as picking between Draymond Green and Kevin Durant, although it sure kind of feels like that in hindsight. Now, maybe Kevin Durant leaves no matter what, his relationship with Draymond Green was. Maybe he does, but I don't know that for sure. I know he liked playing with Stephen Curry. I know he liked winning championships. This whole narrative that he just wanted to leave just to be his own number one, I'm not buying that completely. Maybe that was part of it, but I don't think it was the whole story. I just don't. I'm happy it's Friday. I think Jonathan in San Jose is happy it's Friday. He wants to join in the conversation. 888-957-9570. What's going on, Jonathan? You're on the Pregame Show, Joe Spadoni.
Hey, Spadoni. I just wanted to hit you with baby. Yes, Spadoni. I know it's a Friday. I know our teams aren't in the big game. I know everyone's feeling a little meh. It's kind of boring for sports right now, but I was thinking, Spadoni, and you always bring this up in us fans, and I appreciate you for it. That's how we know you're one of us, is appreciative. I've just been appreciative and humble for what we've been able to witness with our Warriors. Not a lot of people can say they've watched a dynasty unfold in front of them, and we have. And I know the ending isn't exactly what we want, but like I said, Spadoni, it's a payday Friday. It's a Phil Collins Friday. Let's be appreciative. The boys are getting it done without that big trade rumor coming in. They're still getting you dubs, which is an amazing thing. Trust me, I always reiterate this as a Sharks fan. It can get worse. Warriors fans. So let's appreciate what you got. You still got some competitive ball. Let's go, everybody. Let's go, Roasters. It's Friday. Let's get excited, baby. We got the Super Bowl this weekend. Let's go. That's all I got for you, Spadone.
I appreciate you, Jonathan. Super Bowl next weekend, by the way. Not this weekend. But I love the enthusiasm of this. I hope Jonathan doesn't think the Super Bowl's this weekend. I hope not. It's next weekend. We got the bye. We got the 2-week stretch. So they'll be out in Louisiana, New Orleans next week doing all the, Radio Row stuff, all that, all that media day, all the different questions that are ridiculous. I mean, last year we had guys like Brock Purdy quarterbacking for the San Francisco 49ers while also doing a SpongeBob SquarePants laugh. Like, what are we doing? We get Patrick Mahomes asked about, his dad bod after winning the AFC Championship, and this is what he had to say.
I have a six-pack. It's just under the dad bod.
There you go. That's what we get. That's the hard-hitting analysis that we need during Super Bowl week. That'll be next week. We'll discuss all that leading up for the Eagles-Chiefs right now. The line change on that game at all? I was like, that's what's I'm paying attention to, right? 1.5. No, it's been pretty steady there. Eagles. Oh, whoa. Never mind. Am I tripping? That's a huge. Whoa. Well, back up. We're back up the truck on that take. Excuse me. Chiefs are now favored. -1.5. Was that always the case? Am I tripping? Maybe I'm tripping. Were the Chiefs always the favorites? I might be all over the place here. It's 5:53. It's fine. I haven't checked in a few days. I think it came out Chiefs -2. Is that what it was? And then it quickly dropped to 1.5. I want to say that's what it was. Eagles maybe have been always dogs here. But last year, it was the 49ers that were favored, right? Have the Chiefs ever won being the favorites in the Super Bowl? I don't know if they were favored against the Eagles last time. I know they were favored against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I thought that was crazy considering the Buccaneers had Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time, with that defense, with Gronk, with Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, 3 Hall of Famers I just mentioned, and Chris Godwin. Oh, and Leonard Fournette. Why not? Oh, and did I mention they were playing at home in that Super Bowl? Yeah, and they were still underdogs. That was the easiest money I've ever made in my life. So easy. But now, Chiefs are favored again. This time against the Eagles, part 2. Now, they've only beaten the 49ers and Eagles in the Super Bowl, so I guess history says anything. Maybe it's in their favor that to beat the Eagles again. They would have only beaten 2 different teams. Let's see. I'm trying to think of quarterbacks to beat the same team multiple times. So now we've got Patrick Mahomes to do it. Eli Manning, obviously, did it twice against the Patriots. Tom did it twice against the Rams, one in St. Louis, one in Los Angeles, so we'll count that. Let's see. Roethlisberger, no. It was Seahawks, Cardinals. Who else? Peyton Manning? No. You got the Bears and you got the Panthers. So, I'm trying to think. I don't think. Steelers, Cowboys, make Terry Bradshaw. Do they play the Steelers, Cowboys a couple times? Terry Bradshaw do that? Joe Montana, yes. Bengals, twice. Okay. 888-957-9570 if I'm missing anyone there from all the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks to beat the same team twice in the Super Bowl. Mahomes has a chance to do it to 2 different franchises and just be a thorn in the side of not only the Eagles, but the Niners too. And I think a lot of Niners fans, they're still rooting for the Chiefs, even though they've beaten them twice in the Super Bowl now, because they hate the Philadelphia Eagles and that whole fan base and all that. Again, worst case of Stockholm Syndrome I've ever seen since Sal in The Sopranos trying to become an FBI agent and becoming an informant. It's the worst. Yeah. We got a couple minutes left here. And I'm just consuming all the different, what's going on in the NBA right now. And you might think it's a slow time. Right, this week, it's the week before the Super Bowl. You got the NBA. We don't really have much happening in baseball right now. The Giants aren't really doing much. Pitchers and catchers reporting next month. Tomorrow's February. We got Valentine's Day in a couple weeks. Some might think this is going to be the dead period coming up here. And I'm looking at this trade deadline for the Golden State Warriors. And whatever is going to happen is going to be fascinating. See, we're so lucky to have a team like this with a player like Stephen Curry still, because the urgency is always going to be there when you have a player of that caliber. Always. Whether it's realistic or not for this team to contend for a title, you're going to be viewing it through that lens still, whether you like it or not, because you've seen what Stephen Curry can do. But you could also say, if you're a fan, and you're like, yeah, I've seen what he could do, but I've also seen this team not do anything for a couple of years now. And what's going to change this year? No Jonathan Kuminga still. We'll see. Maybe he comes back post All-Star break in a nasty ankle sprain. We'll see with Draymond Green. Wouldn't it be something that Draymond Green came back going up against KD tonight? Oh, but they squashed the beef. I don't think that's ever. Is it ever really squashed? I don't know. I think there's still some hard feelings there. Good. That's right. I don't want people being friendly anymore. Good old-fashioned pettiness is what I need. Bring it back. Bring back the petty. Not Bryce. Not Tom. Just good old-fashioned pettiness in the NBA. I think we're missing that a little bit. Who is it? Cade Cunningham and someone else on the Houston. Is it Jalen Green? Some sort of beef like that goes back to high school. Like, yeah, we're competitors, stuff like that, but we're not friends. And I could be getting the names mixed up. I saw recently, just don't have facts get in the way of a good story, as we know. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, we have this reunion. Oh, it's going to be great to see KD. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. It's going to get a loud, ovation, stuff like that. But we just got through this with Jordan Poole and Draymond tweeting, oh, I really am sorry. And then Draymond doubling down on it and saying Poole needs to get over it. Like, there is a drama still with this team when it comes to some of these players in the past and the history of the Golden State Warriors. Whenever they play KD, whenever they play Jordan Poole, whenever they play Klay Thompson, there's going to be hard feelings with all these players no matter what. And whether it's at Joe Lacob, whether it's at Draymond Green, whether it's at Steve Kerr, yada, yada, yada. I love games like this. And it just so happens that, you need to win this game because of the standings. Suns are right there. They're only one ahead of you in that vaunted loss column. You beat the Suns tonight. You've already beaten them. You jump into the box. This is a huge game. 7-3 in their last 10, the Phoenix Suns. They've been playing well. Don't play well on the road, though. They are a losing team on the road, like the Warriors. Warriors are at home. They are now a winning team after winning this back-to-back. They are 14-12 at home. Can they keep this home winning streak alive right now? This used to be a place where the Warriors could lean on. Chase Center, Oracle, home field advantage was built in here. Home field, home court, whatever you want to call it. Where's that been? Well, maybe they won 3 in a row tonight, and we can start getting that mojo back. That's all for me today. Tune in next Monday. You'll hear me on these airwaves. But coming up next, Sponte Hill, Joe Shasky. Happy payday. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everybody.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM in HD.